Hello everyone and welcome to another Vibe 105 audio training video. And today we're going to be talking about hard limiting, which is another layer of production we can add to our interviews, our news hits, our music hits, and really anything that we kind of produce in terms of volume or vocals. So, what we're looking at right here in front of us is the multi-track view on Adobe Audition 3.0. And what I have compiled in front of here is a very basic news hit. So I have my vibe intro, my personal intro, one part of a news story, along with the bed track underneath it, and then I have my personal outro and the vibe outro. So it's a very short news hit. It's not even a complete one. But what we're going to look at a little bit is applying that hard limiter. And what a hard limiter does essentially is it tells us to, it tells any piece of audio the max volume that it can be and cuts off everything above it. So we know from past trainings and from past audio trainings that we always want to live in between that -3 and 0 decibel range when it comes to broadcasting audio over the radio. So that means that anytime we have anything that kind of falls below it or maybe even peaks over it, we should trim it down and make sure it can fall into that consistent -3 to 0 range. And sometimes our audio is going to go over that, whether it be that we're moving too close to the mic, we're talking or yelling really loudly, or maybe even our multi-band compressor that we can see I actually have attached to my two vocal tracks here, that can sometimes be so loud as to push it past 0 decibels and into the red and begin to clip and sound staticky and lose quality. So that means that we have to start applying this hard limiter. And we should remember that when we apply our multi-band compressor, we only apply that to our raw vocals, but when we hard limit, we want to hard limit our entire track. And the way that we do that is we apply it to our master track here at the bottom. And we can see that on the other tracks, like track 6 right here, we have this drop-down effects menu. And in order to get that on the master track, we have to kind of keep expanding with the mouse wheel until we see that same drop-down menu on the master track. So I'm going to go ahead and select that, go to amplitude and compression, and go to hard limiting. And here we have a few different options. We actually don't have a preset, but we can easily kind of set up our own. And what we're going to do, remember when I said we always want to be in between -3 and 0? And you can see I already have it set to -1 right here. I think -1 is a really great number to go to. It kind of errs on the side of that max volume at 0 decibels, but allows us a little bit of wiggle room. So if we wanted to change that, we could go ahead and click and type it in if we want to, but I think -1 will work for us. We also want to look at the second menu here, which is Boost Input By. And what Boost Input By does essentially means that we raise the volume of everything else within our track that isn't quite at that -1 decibels. So that means that anything that isn't quite at -1 will raise by 2.5 decibels. I like 2.5 decibels. I usually use this on my news hits and my interviews. You can mess around a little bit if you want. I think anything in between 4 and 1 works. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to try out 3 right now. So now that we've done that, we can go ahead and click the X in the top right-hand corner. And then now we have that green power button on, and that means that our hard limiter is working and currently affecting our master track. So what we would have to do now is actually go up into the corner, go to File, and we would have to go to Export Audio Mixdown. But I've actually done that already, so I'm going to go ahead and open up our test mixdown. And we can see that this is a very consistent looking piece of audio here. What our hard limiter does was actually kind of stop the volume from going past -1 decibels, which we can kind of see here on the right-hand side. And it also boosted the rest of the volume up a little bit accordingly. And that kind of resulted in a very consistent looking and sounding overall piece of audio. I also actually exported that same piece of audio, this same whole piece of audio, without my master track hard limiter affecting it. So it's as if I turned it off and then went back. And that's what this test mixdown 2 is right here. And we can see that it's not as consistent. It's kind of all over the place in terms of volume, and it's not all quite at that same -1 decibel sound. So if we compare that to the first one, this is without a hard limiter, and this is with a hard limiter. And we can see the hard limiter makes it look much more consistent and sound a lot better overall. So just remember, anytime we're producing a news or a music hit or an interview, we want to attach a hard limiter to the entire thing. So to the entire master track, and to the entire piece of audio in general. And that's it. That's the crash course in hard limiting. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for listening.